What's going on, everyone? So, before we jump into the conversation today, I just want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. Stay safe out there. Please be responsible. Take care of yourself. I need to see all you beautiful people back here tomorrow and throughout the course of the day, right? So, have fun, but be safe. It's my little PSA for the day. But, diving into the conversation, right? So, today's 4th of July. Maybe we'll get a little fireworks, maybe get a little spark. Anything. Give me a little sparkler, right? Just give us something. We're in day 5 of free agency. It'd be nice to see even just like a minor, like even just give me some trash, like unload some salary, right? Like in some contracts to where it's like, okay, obviously it's the first step, first domino in the right direction. Give us something, please. But LeBron James, he's expected to sign the max contract, which kind of puts a wrench in everything. Now, I do still think that he may be using this as a pressure play. I do think that he may be using this as like an advantage point to kind of entice Demar Derozan. Now, look, Demar Derozan, he was linked to the Miami Heat. Based on reports, the Miami Heat are probably out on Demar. Based on the reports, it says that he is not in that the Heat are not in the position to acquire Demar Derozan currently. So, if they're out, who's left? Now, there are links to the San Antonio Spurs, but you got this young core. You got Vassell, you got Castle, right? You just brought in Chris Paul to kind of be the mentor guy, right? Like, so what are you doing? Are you benching one of those guys? Like, are you benching Vassell? Are you benching, what are you playing Demar at like the 4 or something? What's the plan there? I don't really buy that, right? That doesn't really make sense to me, but we'll see. You never know. And then also, the Sacramento Kings are a team that is kind of like the dark horse, but Sacramento's just kind of been a name thrown out for everybody. Are they really going to sign DeMar DeRozan to a 3-year? Because they'd have to do a sign and trade. Do they really want DeMar DeRozan for a 3-year deal? I don't know, maybe. But this is kind of my point with LeBron James and why I was so like, hey, this kind of feels like a pressure play to me, right? Like, LeBron gave them a deadline. LeBron cannot sign that new contract, that 2-year, $104 million, until the 6th. So it kind of feels like, hey, you got 3 days. Because look, if LeBron is really willing to take a discount, then if they can get DeMar or something, then he'll still take the discount, right? Because if he's not willing to take what's he gonna say? Like, oh nah, like, hey, you had your 3 days, you didn't do it, sorry. Like, no, I don't buy that. I think more likely than not, what is going to happen is if the Lakers can still find something, then LeBron will take that discount and they'll be able to get the ball rolling. So it kind of feels like, hey, DeMar, just to let you know, you're on a clock, right? Because you want to take your time, you want to do it, that's fine. I got to go to the Olympics, I got to go do all this stuff. I want everything wrapped up and ready to go, right? I want to know what my roster, at least have an idea of what it's going to look like, if we're going to be contending or not. And if you're not willing to come, then fine, I'll sign the max, I'll go play in the Olympics, and then you can figure it out. And then what happens if San Antonio and Sacramento, what happens if they don't go after you? And if Miami's really out, and this is what, I mean, we were even talking about this in the live stream yesterday, right? Like, hey, like, what does DeMar do if Miami doesn't do the sign and trade, right? Could another team come out of the woodworks? Possibly, right? But, like, if he really wants Miami or the Lakers, well, now's your opportunity. Sign a 1-year deal at the taxpayer or the full mid-level exception, right? Because otherwise, you could end up being in a position where you're signing nothing but you might be having to sign a vet minimum, right? Like, what are you going to do? You're just not going to play? You're just going to take the year out, right? Like, maybe you get like, a year in Detroit or something. Detroit's like, we'll give you that just for whatever. But all the bad teams are going to want to tank. You got Cooper Flag that's available, right? Everyone's going to be tanking for Flag. So, like, if you're DeMar DeRozan, at what point do you just make the decision, like, okay, like, I don't want to run the risk of nothing being there, and then the Lakers take themselves out of the equation? Because if LeBron signs that contract, the Lakers have no way to get DeMar DeRozan unless he wants a taxpayer mid-level or he wants a vet minimum. If you want one of those, beautiful. But at that case, you look silly because you missed out on $13 million, right? So there were talks that, like, hey, DeMar might do that just for like a 1 year, right? You might do that for a year, and then a bunch of other teams will have cap space again, and then maybe you get a bigger deal, right? So look, the problem is that you want $25 million a year, and we have to sign you to a 3-year deal. So it's not like there's no like wiggle room there. It's not like, oh, we can sign you for we'll give you the 25 million just for this year and then it's expiring like no, we'd have to sign you for a 3-year deal. That's how the sign and trade works. Like, what team is lining up to sign him for 25 million? Look, DeMar DeRozan's great. I would love to have DeMar DeRozan. Dude's an absolute bucket. I think he would raise the ceiling of this team tremendously. I don't think him by himself, all of a sudden, the Lakers are the best team in the league. I don't think him by himself, all of a sudden, we're a real contender and it's like, oh man, that's it. I do think we need a little more, but he would be a huge leap in the right direction. But again, it's like what are your alternatives here? You're running thin here. And there's not many teams that are looking at you as like this value piece. At the end of the day, he's still 35. There is still questions about the decline. He's not just like a simple plug and play player, right? He has a very unique skill set. And it's like half the league can't even trade for him even if they wanted to. The other like quarter of the league is all tanking. And then the last quarter that could be involved, half of them don't have a purpose for you or don't have a need, right? They either don't have a need, they don't want you, or they don't need you, right? Like, so you have maybe a handful of teams, the Lakers included, right? It seems to be San Antonio, which do they really want to do that? Maybe if they go trade for Lauri Markkanen, right? If they get Markkanen, then maybe they go, let's try DeMar and see if we can go like Chris Paul, Lauri Markkanen, DeMar DeRozan, and then you have Victor Wembanyama. Maybe those 4. Maybe we could do something this year, right? Like maybe we can make some noise this year. Maybe they do something like that. But otherwise, it's like, why would I just don't see them necessarily doing that? And didn't DeMar like say a bunch of bad stuff about San Antonio? I know Popovich. I know he really liked Popovich, but didn't that kind of end a little sour? If I'm not mistaken, I might be a little wrong on that, but I remember something about it ending a little sour. Just something to keep in mind. But then beyond that, Sacramento, okay, maybe Sacramento does it, but like, does Sacramento, like, you have both De'Aaron Fox and you have Malik Monk. Like, the last thing you need is kind of DeMar DeRozan, and DeMar's taken away from those two guys. And what, are you going to run all 3 of those guys on the court at the same time? Right, so you're going to have what? De'Aaron Fox at the point, Malik Monk at the 2, DeMar at the 3. Like, you're probably getting blown out at that point. Like, yeah, you have a bunch of offensive firepower, but you also got to be able to stop somebody. Right? It's just, I don't know. It's just, I just look at them. Like, Miami made sense. Like, I looked at Miami and I was like, that, like, Miami's a problem. Right? Miami's a team that they could cause us some trouble, right? Because, they could work out the sign and trade. He actually does make sense to just be that bucket getter that Miami desperately needs alongside Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Like, he makes perfect sense for Miami. But if Miami's out, who else is there? If Miami is genuinely out of the conversation, like, the Lakers could end up being the only thing you need. And if LeBron signs that deal, guess what? The Lakers are off the table. Unless you want to take a vet minimum, unless you want to take taxpayer mid-level. But do you know how hard it is to go from, which is why he doesn't really want to sign the mid-level exception. Because it's hard to go from mid-level exception, $13 million, because everyone's going to see you as that from now on. Right? Because he's not 23, or 25. He's 35. So it's really hard to go at 35 from taxpayer or full mid-level exception, $13 million, to jump into $20 million. All right, so if you go and take a taxpayer mid-level exception, you're not going from $5 million to $20 million. You might go from $5 million to 10 or $5 million to maybe like 15 if you're lucky. But you're not going to get 20 plus million going from 5 unless the team's like just that desperate. Right, or they just want like a cap filler for a year or something. Maybe you get like the JJ Redick rule, but like the Lakers make the most sense. It's just like you come in, the Lakers are gonna make other moves because LeBron's gonna take a discount. If they get DeMar, at that point you're all in. You got DeMar, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. So then I do think the Lakers would push their chips in and go get like a Jeremy Grant or something. Lakers right now are hesitant to do any of that because all these teams want both firsts and all this stuff. And it's like Jeremy Grant by himself isn't enough to all of a sudden we're a contender. We're one of the top teams. But DeMar DeRozan and Jeremy Grant, now we're cooking. Right now we're talking. Austin Reeves, DeMar Derozan, Jeremy Grant, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, now you're up there. Now you're one of the better teams, and you'd still have depth, and you'd still have talent, right? Like, now you're in that conversation as really being a contender. But, so I understand the Lakers' reluctancy to like, oh, let's sell the farm to go get a Jeremy Grant or go get a Cam Johnson or whatever, right? Because it's like, we need more than that. We can't give up both first to go get that because that's not enough to put us over the top. So what's the point, right? But DeMar DeRozan, if he signs, or if you can work out a sign and trade for him, and then you can go work out a sign and trade, or not sign and trade, but just a trade for like a Jeremy Grant or a Cam Johnson, now we're cooking. Now the Lakers may be more enticed to go do and kind of push their chips in a little more. So it's just like you'd have the best chance to probably win a championship with the Lakers as far as like realistic teams that he could go to, and you'd still get money. It's not like you're playing for the vet minimum. You're getting, a relatively sizable paycheck, especially for somebody that's 35. Right? There's very few guys that are that old that are making that kind of money. Right? So it's just like, I just see it as a win-win. But does DeMar actually make that move? Right? Does he finally feel the pressure because with LeBron and then maybe Miami bailing out, and Miami going like, sorry, we can't do it right now? Does DeMar go, all right, I got to just bite the bullet and sign with the Lakers? Or are the Lakers able to work out that sign and trade? Because again, I think LeBron will, like, if he was serious about the discount and the Lakers can pull off these moves, then he'll take the discount. If he now goes, hey, you had your window, you didn't do it in the window, then he was never really serious. It was just, like you had a moment. It was like the you're half in, half out type thing. So to me, it's like if you're really committed and you're honest about that, okay, we're gonna go get DeMar DeRozan, and then we're gonna go trade for a Jeremy Grant or whatever, and then you take the discount and let's go try to win a championship. So anyway, as always, this is a discussion, a past question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think DeMar is still an option on the table? Do you think no? Stay away from him. It's not going to happen. Or do you think it's just not going to happen, period? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. And again, please be safe out there today. Be responsible, please. And can't wait to see you guys in the next video and throughout the course of this day. But that being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.